Welcome back. This time we're going to call it part three. We have a lot of the eyes, the nose, the cheeks roughed out. We have the face cut back under the hat. So now we're going to try and work a little bit below the nose, work on the lip and the mustache a bit, try and round out the eyes a little bit more. And I think even at this point, if we're going to carve the eyes, we're going to start to shape and make the eye more or less an oval like a football. And we might do a little bit of that in this step. But right now I think we'll start right underneath the mustache. We're going to V-cut in again. And we can start to V-cut under the lip as well so we don't lose our line. Eventually the lip will be undercut a little bit. If you choose, you don't have to. It will give it a little bit more of a shadow line. I think I mentioned that this piece of basswood is not the easiest working I've ever had. A little tip, I haven't done it with this piece, but if you mix in a little spray bottle, 50% water, 50% denatured alcohol, I guess rubbing alcohol will probably work too, and spray the piece of wood, it will soften it and cut a little easier. I find that when I do that, the times that I've done that, it does make the cuts get a little stringy. You can clean them up when it dries. I'm going to keep mentioning cleanup. There's a lot of cleanup, a lot of detail to get rid of little ragged areas like that. Shallow cuts, just light, and again, making sure that they match at the bottom without having too many different knife cuts in to weaken the grain and lose detail. Work around the mustache a little bit, bring the lip and the mouth in, work underneath on the beard. And I know I sometimes get a little tongue-tied here. I'm not sure what to say. I hope that I'm keeping my hands where you can see them in the camera. I am struggling somewhat. I'm new to this. I'm not going to give up right away. I'm new to filming things for YouTube. I hope you can be a little patient with me as I go along. I have a lot of ideas, and I've had a lot of suggestions of things that people would like to see on YouTube. I believe I'll continue to do them, especially in the winter when it's a little colder outside and a little snowy, spending a little more time inside. Once summer comes and work gets a little busier, maybe won't have as many opportunities to do a video, and it might slow up at that time. Hollow out in the mouth just a little bit, starting to kind of make a V in the mustache underneath the nose. To set that back in, maybe make a little bit of appearance of a tongue. We're not going to get as carried away as to put a tongue in there. Trace out the mustache, give it a stop cut. Come back the other way, make that V, and then continue to knock the corners off to round it off. We're going to put a little bit of a part in the mustache. Try and go directly under the nose. I'm just cutting straight down, and then I'm back to another V. You'll notice that that keeps repeating. Kind of start a lot of cuts with a V cut, and then gradually take the corners around to round them off and give it other shape. Try to remember that trick with the grain. You always want to pet from the head of the dog to the tail. That's why there's so many turns. Keep turning so that you're laying those hairs down, laying the fibers in that wood down as you cut. Sometimes I put it on the bench so I can apply a little better force. Remember, if you put a lot of force on the knife, it's easy to slip. Putting a lot of force on the knife can be a really bad thing. Or a chisel or a gouge, same thing. Try not to force them too much. That's why it's so important to keep your tools sharp. When your tools aren't sharp, then you have to force to make the cuts. You have to apply a lot of force. And when you're doing that, it's easy to slip. And even though they might not be cutting real well in the piece of wood, they'll cut you real well when you slip. So, sharpening is not one of the favorite things for most of us to do. It can be a little monotonous, a little boring, but hopefully if you do that, your work in the carving will go a little better. Hopefully. Sharp tools are really, really important. Okay, hopefully you're getting the idea there. I'm not going to probably finish the whole thing for you. I was going to keep these videos short, just give you some starting points and some instruction along the way, and then really it's just a matter of repeating those steps over and over again until you get shape, the shape you want to see. And do a little bit of rounding on the ball of his hat, the tassel, ball, whatever. That round thing at the end of the hat. Guess it's not quite a tassel. Alright, all of that needs to be deepened and the cuts cleaned up. We can come up if you choose, and we can start to work on the hat at any time. Start to take some out above the forehead. This whole section here will eventually come off and be brought back. But you can start by doing V-cuts. Begin to create that brim. If your lines are starting to fade from your hands rubbing on it and working back and forth with the knife, you can go in and draw them back in before they disappear altogether. Work back and forth, a little at a time, refining, cleaning up, shaping. Undercut the lip a little bit to make a better shadow line. And I think quickly before I run out of space on this camera phone, I think that happened to me in my last video, part 2. It stopped and I wasn't quite to the end, but I think I was far enough that I let it go. Again, I'm struggling a little bit. Begin to create a football shape for the eye. If we wanted to keep it simple, even easier to do, we could just put a V-cut in there and let it look as though the eyes are almost closed. But for right now, let's round that in a little bit and start to make a football shape. From the football shape, we'll work on making the rest of the eye. A little tougher to do on this side. It'll get easier to work in here as we go along and trim down this hat. You'll be able to get a better angle on your knife. So, like I've been saying, you're going to work back and forth on different things. And really already, with that cleaned up, that would look, I think, pretty good. Should we refine it? I think so, but really, if you're to this point, you wouldn't have to do a whole lot more to have a really attractive ornament. Shape out the beard and the hat, and you'll be in good shape. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying, I hope you're learning. Please subscribe to my channel if you would. Give this a like. And of course, as always, suggestions. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. And I know I'm doing a lot of things wrong. Don't be afraid to let me know. That's part of how I'll learn to do it and get better. Thanks so much. Have fun.